Hello folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And again today we are continuing with the standards on auditing, right? And today we are advancing to the next level of series, right? We are going to the 300 series, right? That comprises of SA 300, 315, 320, 330, 402 and 450. So SA 300 is the planning and audit of a financial statement. 315 is identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. 320 is materiality in planning and performing an audit. 330 response to assessed risk. 402 audit consideration relating to an entity using service organization. And SA 450 evaluation of misstatement identified during audit. Right? So these are basically the 6 SA that we will be covering in the 300 and the 400 series. And among this, we will go in flow with 300, 315, 330 and 450, right? Because they are in sequence, where you plan, you identify the risk of material misstatement, the ROMM, then you give your response to the risk, and then you evaluate the misstatement which is identified during audit. Whereas 320 deals with the materiality and 402 is an audit consideration relating to the entity using a service organization, which is a separate entity. Right? If you are using the work of that service organization, then this SA will be applicable. So these two SA 320 and 402 are a little different from the league, but whereas 300, 315, 330 and 450 are in continuation. Right? So today we will start with SA 300, which is the planning and audit of a financial statement. This is the simplest essay that you will have over here. Right? It is a short essay. We'll try and complete it as fast as we can, right? And help you with the understanding of the same, right? But among this, if you look at it, then essay 315 and 320 are one of the most important essays in your entire syllabus, apart from 700 series, right? You have been asked a lot of questions from these essay in the past attempts, right? So first we'll get the basic about the planning of the audit of financial statement, and then we will move ahead to identifying the ROMM. Right? So SA 300 planning and audit of financial statement. We will start with the scope and objectives. So basically, whenever you go for an audit, do you just pick up your team or pick up anybody from your office and go over there, go to the client site and start your audit? You say, yeah, give me the document, give me whatever you have, I'll start the auditing. Is that the way you audit? No, you always have a plan, right? You have a documented plan. These are the things that the management will be providing with this span of time. This is what we'll start with. We'll start with the balance sheet items. This partner will take, or this manager will take away the asset side. I will keep you the liability side, right? And the P&L item, the sale and purchase, will simultaneously be started by the two seniors in the firm, right? So that is how you actually plan the entire audit. Right? You will see what is the kind of engagement you are going for. Accordingly, you will select the engagement team to go over there. Without a plan, you are not able to actually conduct an efficient audit, because everything will be going haywire. You will have duplications, you will have irregularities, right? You will have no control over the procedures, no control over the evidences. You will not be able to perform or conduct an audit. So the institute, right, they want us to follow the provisions of SA 300. These are binding on us as auditors. So the institute declares that whenever you are going for an audit, make sure you have a concrete plan of what you are going to do on that client. Without a plan, you are going nowhere, right? So whenever you have an audit, the first thing you need to do is to prepare a plan, discuss it, right, and then prepare a plan. So deal with the auditors. So the scope and objective, this essay deals with the auditor's responsibility to plan the audit. Right? It is your prime responsibility. Without planning, please don't commence the audit. No, you will end up with doing nothing in it. You will end up screwing up everything. So please plan it and then go ahead. Right? And if we talk about the scope of this audit, this SA basically deals with the recurring audit. It is framed in context of recurring audit. Right? Because when there is a difference between the initial audit and recurring audit, right? If you remember, then we have dealt with this provision in the previous essays also. So basically, if you remember, if you reflect, then the concept of recurring audit was first dealt in SA 210, agreeing to the term of an audit engagement. Right over there, you have seen that if it is an initial engagement, then whether you have the limitation, you don't have the limitation, what do? You issue the LOE, you withdraw, right? And then if you have a recurring, then you see whether you need to give an LOE or not, what are the conditions, what are the circumstances. Remember, we had dealt with the concept of recurring audit in SA 210, and again in SA 220 we have again covered the concept of recurring audit, where we talked about the acceptance and continuation of the client. Remember, right? So this SA also, SA 300, basically deals with only that part of the audit. If this is a continuing client, you have already performed an engagement for this client in the past, that is the previous year itself, and you are again continuing. The client has decided that they will continue you as the auditor, and you have been reappointed as an auditor in the firm. So in that context, what is the planning that you will get into? Right? Because when we are talking about the initial audit engagement, it involves a greater depth of planning, right? Right from the beginning, where you evaluate the client, where you accept the engagement, all those things are also covered. But in the case of recurring audit, those things have already been performed in the previous year. Now you just have to go and start the audit. So all you need to document, all you need to plan is how do you move ahead, how do you commence and continue with the auditing, right? But this essay will also contain a little segment, right, one phrase exactly about the initial audit as well. So the consideration of initial audit engagement is separately identified, right? We'll see that also. So this is basically the scope of the scope is the recurring audit. The objective is to enable the auditor to plan the audit. It is the responsibility fixation on the auditor to plan the audit. Got it? Next, we move ahead with the requirement section. So when we talk about the requirement, listen, if you flip through the study material of the institute, right, again you will have a lengthy essay. SA 300 is again a lengthy essay, because the application material that is given over there is too much in detail, right, which is not very much required for your examination purpose. So the relevant application material that is required for your examination purpose has already been included in the requirement section. So when we are discussing about the requirement, we will deal and cover with it. But if at any point of time if I consider that even the application portion is important, then those specific consideration from the application section is also covered, right? Otherwise, if you go on with dealing with the entire essay that is given in your study material, it becomes huge. It becomes really huge, and that is not necessary, right? If you ask me what is the basis of my comment like that, then that is the previous year questions and the questions given in a practice manual, the questions that appear in your revision test papers, right? If you get the scanner in the market, go and purchase a scanner. Flip through the questions that have appeared in your examination in the previous attempts, right? The basic questions that are asked, you will understand the pattern over there, right? So based on that evaluation, we do not generally get a question on the application material part, that detail that we are not covering in the class. I'm not giving a guarantee it won't be there in the examination, but it is the general assumption, it is the general observation that generally it is not there in the paper, right? There may be a specific situation where they have asked a question from that, I won't comment on that, but generally it is not there. So for a very little percentage of probability, it makes no sense to go through that detail of the standard, basically the bare act, the bare standard, right? Because those things we have already included in our explanation. That is basically for application material, is basically how you apply this essay, right? So when I'm taking the examples, like in the previous essays, you have seen that the examples that I take in the class, right, they are basically the application material where you practically apply this essay. So that is basically for your understanding. You will not be asked to jot down those specific examples over there, right? You will only be asked about the requirement section. That is the general question that you are being asked, right? So we'll start with the requirement. So what is the requirement? Involvement of the key ET members. Now what is ET? It is a common term we have been using in the previous essay as well. It is the engagement team, right? So what do you basically mean by key engagement member? Key engagement member is actually that engagement member who has been on this engagement in the previous year as well, who has already been involved in this engagement in the past, who has performed the entire audit, maybe as an in charge of the client, right? So he already has the experience, he has been through the discussions with the client, he has seen the difficulties at the client, right? He has seen the entire process, he has seen what could go wrong. So he is an experienced person. So what is the benefit of involving the key engagement team member, or the members actually? What is the benefit? Yeah, so we involve members over there, right? So what is the benefit? First is that their participation and discussion with the audit team will help you analyze the situation better, right? You will be able to gain the benefit from their experience and the insight that they have. They'll share with you what was the experience, what is the flow of the client, what could go wrong at the client, what is the risky area, right? What is the industry, what are their work patterns? Everything can be discussed with those people, right? And then to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the planning. Ultimately, goal is to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the planning, because when you know that these are the areas of where you have to lay more concentration, you will give more time to that area. This is a critical area. Then you will, for example, if you know that FA is a very critical area in this client, the number of FA is huge, that can have a major hit on the financial, and it is very complicated. The depreciation schedule, the FAR and everything, right? That becomes very complicated. So what you do is you appoint somebody who is already experienced, who is equipped with those expertise to deal with certain situations, right? So when you are actually discussing with the engagement team and knowing that these areas are difficult at this client, so you will not give it to the amateur, or you will not give it to the article, right? You will want an experienced person to handle that. That is the benefit you get. So that is why you have to plan the audit, right? Then you have the preliminary engagement activity. Now what is your preliminary engagement activity? Again over here, if you refer to your essay 220 and 210, you'll see that in 220 we talked about acceptance and continuance of the audit, of the client relation, right? But over here we will not talk about acceptance and continuance. All we are going to talk about is continuance of the client relationship, because acceptance is basically the term which is used for initial audit, but this essay concentrates on recurring audit, right? So we'll talk about continuance of client relationship, right? Then we'll talk about the ethical requirements. And whenever we talk about ethical requirements, one thing should click your mind, that is the code of ethics, IOPCP: integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, IOPC: confidentiality, and again professional behavior, right? That should hit your mind at the instant, that yes, the ethical requirements have to be fulfilled, and that also includes independence, right? And this is also a requirement of essay 220, right? Then you will have to establish an understanding of the terms of engagement, right? This is essay 210, the letter of engagement that you sign. You have the terms of engagement, the terms and conditions, that yes, this is the management's responsibility, this is my responsibility, these things will be dealt in this manner, right? These things will be excluded, these things will be included, will involve an actuary, will involve an expert. These are the terms and conditions of the audit. Good with it? So these preliminary engagement activities also have to be performed, right? And then moving further with your requirement material, before moving ahead, we'll again understand the importance of planning, that we have written it down, right? I forgot we have a slide for the same. So what is the importance of planning? It helps you to devote appropriate attention to the important areas. As we have discussed, the person who has been involved in the engagement in the previous year, he knows that yes, this area is critical. He knows that debtors, there are few debtors who are very critical, right? They don't pay the money. You'll have to prepare provisions for that, and they are high value debtors, so you'll have to pay great attention on that. The company, right, they deal in foreign exchange transactions, they export certain goods, so they have FDRs, they have accounts in the foreign banks, right? Those, they get converted on timely basis into INR. Those conversions have to be seen. The FDRs have to be seen, right? The conversion, the rate, the ratios, they have to be seen very critically. So we need a person who is experienced in that, right? So you can devote appropriate attention to the important areas, because now you know what the important areas are, and that is based on the experience, right? Then identify and resolve potential problem on timely basis. So when you already know that, yeah, these are the important areas, you have appointed a person for that. But now you also know that there are potential problems, the problems that may arise. For example, as we discussed, the debtor. So you will have to identify and you have to resolve that problem on timely basis. So when, as soon as you go to the client, you ask them for the list of debtors, you ask them for the aging of debtors, prepare and give me the aging of the debtor, and then you check, okay, these debtors have aged long, yeah, why aren't the money coming? Send them an external confirmation instantly, because you know that the response for the external confirmation will take some time to come. So you prepare the external confirmation, right? You print it on your letterhead and float it independently from your office. And the debtors, when they receive it, right, they will sign it and acknowledge it. Okay, yeah, these are the accurate balances, and they'll send it back to you. And once you receive it, that is when you understand, okay, the debtors are confirming it, and now we will go ahead with the other procedures, right? Because that is a potential problem. Generally, debtors don't respond. So if they don't, then you will have to resend it and resend it. Then after 3 times, you will also have to talk to the management. Please follow up. Please call the debtor. And if he is not responding, we'll have to perform some additional procedures for that, right? Then third is organize and manage the audit. Now, what do you mean by organize and manage the audit? Organizing is when you segregate, yeah, this are the responsibility area for these personnel in my engagement team, right? These are the areas that will be taken up first, and then these areas. These are the important areas, right? That is how you organize the entire thing. You allocate specific personnel from the client for your engagement team. That, yeah, this senior, please work with that person in the finance, because he will help you with the entire thing. Then you allocate one executive to the HR department. Go sit over there, see the files, be done with the payroll. That is how you organize the audit, right? And then you manage it, because you know what are the responsibilities that has been fixed with different various people, because you already have a documented plan for that, right? Then you have to select the engagement team appropriately. What do you mean by selection of the engagement team appropriately? Exactly, we have already discussed this earlier, that whenever you are taking an engagement team, please refer to what kind of industry you are going to. Take people who are experienced. Like now you know that there are potential threats in some areas, and there are certain high attention areas, important areas. So for that you take experienced people, right? You just cannot take an amateur and give him the work and then you say, okay, in the review I will check, if he's doing something wrong I'll amend it. No, you don't have time for that, right? Lot of things could go wrong. So you will have to select your engagement team appropriately, right? You will have to plan, you will have to think, you will have to see who is available, which is the best alternative available for me, right? Not all the personnel you want will always be available. They are engaged in different clients on different engagements, right? Then you have to ensure coordination of work at the different hierarchical level. But yeah, if the article is performing the vouching, right, please check the samples that he has gathered. If he has sanitized the dump and feeded the dump in the IDEA software has given him the samples, please confirm and check. The senior will check the sample before he shifts the sample to the client, before he gives the sample to the client to get the document, right? So there you're coordinating the work. So as soon as the article performs the sample, he will be always guided by the senior. Then you will also see that the executive is keen at his work with the HR person. So there are 3 days time available with him. If the HR says that, if the HR is not willing, if he is not ready, then you will also have to shift that person to help somebody else. That is how you coordinate the work. If by chance in between the senior takes a leave for 3 days, you don't want the work to be hampered, then you will have to see who is the next best alternative to handle that work. Does he have time? You need to do a little bit of shuffling at that point of time, right? And that will result in effective coordination. The last point is facilitates direction and supervision of the engagement team. That is exactly what we have just discussed. Right? You will supervise the engagement team. Each level of the hierarchy, everybody will supervise the person who is below them. Right? The manager will supervise the entire team. What is the work being done? This was the target. What have been achieved? Where are we lagging behind? What is the requirement? Where is the push needed? Right? That is how you facilitate the directions and the supervision of the engagement team. So this is basically the importance of planning. All of these can be done only if you have already planned the audit in advance. Right? If your planning fails, or if your planning is succumb to some negligence, then you may face great difficulties in the conduct of the audit. Right? So next we move on to the planning activities. Right? So when we start the planning activities, we have divided it into two categories. One is establishing the audit strategy and the other is developing a plan. First you will have a strategy. Strategy basically is your direction and plan is the blueprint. Right? You have to understand the difference. Strategy is the direction. What is the base on which you are preparing the plan? What is the direction? What is the scope? That is your strategy. How do you want to deal? And the specifications are the plan. Are you getting what I mean to say? If you know, then once we are done with the detailed discussion of this topic, you will understand. So we'll start with establishing an audit strategy. So when you're talking about the audit strategy, right, so you will have to establish such a strategy, an overall strategy that would set the scope, timing and direction of the audit, right, and that would enable the direction of the audit, that would enable the development of an audit plan. Right? So your strategy should set the scope, timing and direction of the audit. So what is the scope of the audit? Do you understand what the scope of the audit? The scope of the audit is the procedure that you will use. Right? Or basically if you talk about the scope, then your scope is basically determined by three things. Your letter of engagement, you remember, the pronouncements of ICAI and the requirements of the law and regulation. That is your scope. So when you are actually planning a strategy, when you're establishing a strategy, you should pay great deal of attention to the scope that you have. Within what boundaries do you need to plan the strategy? Right? What would be the timing? Year end, during the year, surprise check, when will be the inventory count? What will be the timing of the entire strategy? Right? How will you go ahead with it? And the direction in which you are planning. Right? And when you are actually establishing an overall strategy, you should identify first the character of the engagement. Now, what do you mean by the character of the engagement? Right? So, when you are planning a strategy, when you are developing a strategy, you need to understand what kind of audit are you going to do, or what kind of engagement are you taking up. Is it a bank audit? Is it an internal audit? Is it a review? Right? Is it a statutory audit, internal audit? What kind of the engagement it is? What is the character of the engagement that you have taken? What is it that you need to do over there? Is it a group audit? Is it a limited review? What is it? Right? You need to first identify that, because that would be the base. You will not have the same strategy for your tax audit and the same strategy for your statutory audit. You will not have the same strategy for an LR, where you just have to declare the report. You have to just do the checking on the P&L. You don't have to even touch the financial, the balance sheet. So are you talking about the LR or are you talking about the group reporting? Right? So strategies for all characters of engagement, all the various kinds of engagement will be different. So the prime responsibility is to identify what kind of the engagement is it. And then based on that engagement, what would be the requirement? How to go ahead with this engagement? Then that would be the scope. And revolving around that would be your strategy. Right? Then you will also check your reporting objective. Right? With your reporting objective, actually you will be able to plan the timing of the audit and also the nature of the communication which is required. Right? Now, what is the reporting objective? Are you performing your audit based on Form 3CD, the tax audit? Or are you reporting on the CARO issues? Are you reporting on the Companies Act issues? Right? What is your reporting objective? What kind of report do you want to prepare? Right? Is it a limited review? Are you just deciding to publish the results? what is your reporting objective? If it is a limited review and you are planning to just publish the result, then you will have to publish the result in due time. The LR will be done in each quarter. That would be your timing. Is it an interim review? What is it that you are covering up? What is the period of time? Right? So you will have to basically decide your reporting objective. What are you reporting on? Right? Then you have to direct the team effort. You will have to consider those factors, right, which are significant in directing the engagement team's effort. Right? So when we are talking about engagement team's effort and the factors which is significant for that direction, so for that basically what you check is what is the strength of your engagement team. Do you have experienced people, or do you have amateurs? Do you have new people in the engagement? There are some new articles who have come up, some new executives who have come up who don't have any experience in the audit. So in my team I have one manager, one senior, one executive and 3 articles. So that is a challenge for you now. Right? So you will have to prepare a strategy that way, that okay, even if I have 3 articles, I need to utilize them very well. Right? So in every area I will have to give them some work. I cannot give them a particular area, but in every area I can allocate the easier task to them. Like okay, do the vouching, do the verification, right? Check the completeness, check the accuracy, right? At least feed the samples into the idea. Whatever thing you need to do, right, you will have to utilize them accordingly. You will have to direct the entire team's effort. If you have only one senior, right, then the most important areas will be handed over to him. Understanding the point? So when you know what is the team that you have, right, so your audit strategy will basically be based on the kind of team you have. Accordingly you have to plan how do you utilize to the maximum each individual in your engagement team. If you have a very strong team, you just have 4 seniors, nothing else to do, just allocate the areas. You take away the assets, you take away the liabilities, you take away the expenses, you take away the income. Rest of the things leave it on me, the manager will say, and he knows the task will be done because all the 4 senior executives are experienced. Either they have an experience of executive for 2 years, or they have an experience as a staff accountant, as an intern for 3 years. Right? Whatever be the case, they are experienced, so they are able to handle it. Right? So you will have to see what are the significant areas, right? How significantly you can direct the team's effort. Then you have the result of preliminary engagement activities. So when you have actually underwent the preliminary engagement activity, right, when you saw the ethical requirement, the terms of engagement, continuance of the client relationship and stuff, what is the conclusion you have drawn? Are the ethical requirements fulfilled? Right? Is the continuance or the relationship matter done completely? What are the terms and conditions? Is there anything very stringent on you, right, that would actually curb your relaxation, curb your expansion, curb your scope? If there is something like that, you will have to consider its impact. You will have to consider what direction will my audit take based on those results of the preliminary engagement activities, right? And accordingly you will have to plan your strategy. Then at last you will have to ascertain what would be the nature, time and extent of the procedures that you are planning to perform. Whether you are planning to do the surprise check, cash count, inventory count, right, test of details, control, analytical procedure, what are the kind of procedures you are planning to apply? So for that procedures, what will be the nature, time and extent? That would be the major part of your strategy. Right? So when you're talking about the strategy, what all things have we seen? That you have to decide your scope, timing and direction. The strategy should set the scope, timing and direction. How do you decide the strategy? Based on the character of the engagement. 1. What is the reporting objective? That would determine your timing. Right? Direct the team effort. Result of the preliminary engagement activity would also be very important for you to understand what it is, and the nature, time and extent of the audit procedures that you need to perform. Right? Now since we are low on time, we would discuss the developing audit plan, that section, that part of the planning activity in the subsequent lecture. So until then, please stay tuned. This is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.